Good afternoon and welcome to this month's show. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss best practices with emergency communications and public safety strategies in the federal government. With me on today's show are Vincent DeLaurentis, Acting Assistant Director for Emergency Communications at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency; Jody Smith, IPAWS Specialist, National Continuity Program Office at the Federal Emergency Management Agency; Laura Flattery, Coordinator, National 911 Program, Department of Transportation, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration; Jeff Henderson, Strategic Account Manager, Army Special Services at Panasonic; Nicholas Nyland, Director of Public Sector Product Development at Verizon; and Chris Calora, Vice President, Federal Sales at Commscope. Well, we have an extremely important program here. And, these systems have to be reliable. They have to be secure. They have to be easy to use because every single American at some point or another may need to use these things. And I want to thank all of you on behalf of every single American for everything that you're doing to make these systems reliable, secure, and available when and if we need them. All right, so let me start with you, Vince. Let's talk about progress over at your organization. And let's start with, for those that may not know, what is it that CISA does in regards to, emergency communications on behalf of the nation?
First, let me start off by saying thank you, Luke, and to the Federal News Network for your commitment to public safety. I know we've done these over several years now. With regards to progress, we're the Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency and specifically emergency communications. We've made considerable progress in public safety communications. In fact, public safety communications in a whole has made considerable progress since 9/11, since Katrina, where we're looking to advance interoperable communications for the first responders. I think you're seeing a lot of that progress today with the COVID-19 and the communications impacts have been mitigated. Probably a key piece to that progress is the National Emergency Communications Plan. That's a 5-year strategic roadmap of how to achieve and advance emergency communications interoperability. It really makes sense of the advancing technologies and the complexities for public safety emergency communications. We're in that world of land mobile radio, broadband, IP systems, all have provided great capabilities. But this National Emergency Communications Plan makes sense of that. It enables all incident responders to have the right information at the right time when they need it to make appropriate decisions to save lives. With regards to the National Emergency Communications Plan, we just released the latest version of it at the end of the year. And again, it sets that 5-year strategic roadmap. And it's not done from our agency. This is a national plan that harnesses and partners with SAFECOM, which is the 30 major intergovernmental and governmental and public safety associations that helped draft the National Emergency Communications Plan. In addition, it's the National Council of Statewide Interoperability Coordinators. It's the 56 statewide coordinators for employees from each of the states, and also our federal partners in the Emergency Communications Preparedness Center. They all prepared this report or plan, and they also endorsed it, which was a major accomplishment. Mm-hmm. It focuses on 6 goals: governance, planning, training and evaluations, comms coordinations, technology, and this year we added a 6th goal, which is cybersecurity to the plan. Gets to your point on that resiliency of the networks. The last point I would like to highlight on that is it's not all about technology. In fact, the plan focuses on much more than technology. It's all those other areas, the other 5 goals that we must focus on. It's the people part of emergency communications and how to govern and how to make these systems interoperable through planning and training and the other areas that I had mentioned.
Right, the people, the processes, just to be able to communicate how we're going to communicate in the event of an emergency really makes a lot of sense. Jody, Tell us about IPAWS. What is IPAWS? I don't know if people understand what that is in regards to the emergency communications capability that we all rely on, particularly when there's a bad day.
Sure. Thanks, Luke. IPAWS is the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. It's a system that FEMA provides to our federal, state, territorial, local, and tribal alerting authorities throughout the country. It provides them the capability to alert and warn their public with not only emergency alerts, but also public safety info through the wireless emergency alerts, which are the cell phones, the alerts that you receive on your cell phone, and also the emergency alert system. Our progression over the past year has been that we've been working hard to close the gap. That's one of our initiatives. Closing the gap means we're looking to get more people on board with using IPAWS. You know, it is voluntary. Last year at this time, we were at about 1,200 users. This year at this time, we're a little bit over 1,500. So we are gaining momentum in that area. Over the past year, we've implemented some updates to the wireless emergency alert system. It used to be that they were restricted to a 90-character message that you would receive on your cell phone. We've increased that up to 360 characters. That has taken off. That has been a great advance in our area. We've also improved the system with allowing and accommodating Spanish and English, and also including a geofencing technology that allows 100% of cell phones within a designated area identified by the alerting authority to activate 100% of the phones with no more than 1/10 of a mile overshoot. You know, we are in a transition period that will get better as new technologies come on board, folks buy new cell phones. So, you know, we'll see better progress with that in the future, but it is available. We also provide now the capability for folks to test using the wireless emergency alert without invading the public. We've also established a monthly testing requirement, which requires that each approved alerting authority perform a test within our IPAWS lab environment. We established this to improve proficiency, to help people gain more confidence using the system, and to lessen the risk of errant alerts. Our progression goal as a program is to catch up where the public expectations are. They want to restrict alerting within a polygon. We're trying to accommodate that. And that's where we are right now as a program.
That's fantastic. And I just want to make sure every listener out there knows when you say over 1,000 users, a user can be an entire municipality, right? It's not just a single user. So this is a widely implemented system across the entire country.
Correct. It is from federal partners, which we have a few of those, and I can go into that if you'd like me to. Our state users, which every state is on, and then down to the local or city locality.
Sure. Thank you very much. Lori, how about the 911 program? I know that's been around, I think I've read over 50 years now at this point. Super important. It's sort of, you know, weaved into the fabric of any type of sort of emergency response. You think of 911. Tell us what's happening with the 911 program these days.
Well, first of all, Luke, thank you for inviting me to participate. We've really appreciated being a part of this through all these years. The program exists to do three things. We act as a point of coordination for all of the 911 stakeholders, whether they're public or private, at all levels of government. We also collect and create resources for the folks at the state and local level that actually operate the nation's 911 system. And we administer a grant program specifically for 911. So through all those efforts, we're helping the 6,000 911 centers across the country do a basic upgrade of their infrastructure so that it matches the infrastructure that has been put in place by companies like Verizon and AT&T. So progress is certainly not as fast as anyone would like it to be, but there are roughly 2,000 911 centers in about 30 states that are actually using that infrastructure to process voice calls. Also, the location information that they're receiving has really improved through some work that we've done with Android and iPhone to improve the location information. And about a third of the 911 call centers are now able to do text to 911. So there are some measurable points of progress that are being made.
That's fantastic. I had just read an article about the text capability. Makes a lot of sense, all right? That's how a lot of people communicate now. And that's, in some cases, the only way some people communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly in cases of, home invasion, domestic violence. And what we're finding out also is in cases of, suicide, folks seem to be more apt to text than to talk to people if they're seeking help. So it's been really helpful in a lot of different ways.
That's fantastic. Jeff, when I think of Panasonic, I think of ruggedized notebooks, industrial strength, drop it out of an airplane and it's not gonna break. Tell us about Panasonic in the world of emergency communications.
Sure. Well, definitely. Thanks for having us, Luke. I was actually going to kind of start there. So we work in the division of Panasonic that does all the, what most people are familiar with, like you were talking about, rugged laptops. We actually have real stories of laptops dropping out of airplanes. So that's actually happened. Over the years, we've actually, so we still do those products that, more traditional tough books. Over the years, we've started to make rugged tablets. We're actually more focused on Android today than we have been in the past, and even down to fully rugged handhelds. So I was actually going to cover how we're implementing that technology with emergency communications, disaster response, so all those sorts of things. So sure.
Absolutely. I'm sure as the technology evolves and the different devices evolve, you continue to take those that superior engineering you have and incorporate it into all those other types of capabilities. Nick, Verizon, you guys have to be there. This communication has to be reliable. As I said earlier, it has to be secure, has to be dependable, has to be easy to use. You are right smack in the middle of the ecosystem here. Tell us what Verizon is up to in regards to emergency communications.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Luke. If you don't know, Verizon's actually celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. We've been around since 2000. We're very excited about that. And it's really been a 20-year history of supporting the public safety community. For our entire 20 years, more first responders have chosen Verizon for their wireless service than any other carrier. Was true in 2000, it's true in 2020, and we're incredibly proud of that. And it's because of the word you just mentioned, reliability. And what we've seen during this pandemic, especially, is the investments we've made in a next generation network. Our 4G LTE network nationwide has the coverage that first responders expect and need, but it also has the back end capabilities that really go unnoticed. And that includes our movement to software-defined networking almost 5 years ago. It also includes our investment in redundant and resilient capabilities so that the network stays up and running, so that we could send everybody home and everybody, including our network engineers, working from home during this pandemic, but yet the network stays just as reliable as public safety needs. And during the coronavirus pandemic that we've been in for the last few months, our focus has been, how do we make sure that we continue to show up for public safety? And whether that's supporting the USNS Comfort and the fiber connectivity that they needed when they moved into New York City, or whether it's augmenting our coverage at Fort Jackson for their graduation ceremonies, or the other hundreds of examples that I could give on augmenting or adding coverage capacity when public safety or the military has asked us. Normally within 24 hours or less. And that's really just a testimony to the planning and capacity capabilities that we've put into the network for years. And today, many of our first responders are actually getting emails from me saying that they're going to get a free upgrade as to higher priority on the network, faster, better quality of service on the network that we're incredibly proud to continue to invest in and continue to deliver better. As you know, 2 years ago, we started offering preemption on our network, and 3+ years ago, we started offering priority on our network. And now we continue to make that better and better for public safety without them having to do anything. So that's it's a little bit about what's going on here at Verizon. And again, thank you for having us, Luke.
And thank you for everything that you're doing. And I'll tell you, it is definitely super impressive that we completely flipped the model about where people were working, how they were working, et cetera. And the sort of the ecosystem in general just really kept up with that and has done a stellar job. So we really appreciate that. Chris, tell us first of all about Commscope. Where does Commscope fit into this picture? And then tell us what you guys are up to.
Thanks, Luke, and thanks for having us on. Commscope has a broad variety of products, from cabling infrastructure, copper, fiber, all the way through pretty much all of the major wireless communications capabilities. So when you look at things like public safety, there's the basic standard public safety broadcast system. There's digital mobile technologies like 4G, 5G that need to come into the building. So the antenna array systems that need to be deployed for those signals to come in for the current systems are important, but it even goes beyond that with some of the newer technologies. As we go to 5G, those in-building wireless systems are even going to be more important because those macro cells that we provide on the outside aren't going to come into the buildings. And you have new technologies too that we're starting to deploy now that offer new public spectrum in CBRS. So really a wide range of technology, well beyond just the standard Wi-Fi that people used to think about for wireless connectivity. But being able to provide all those technologies is pretty much unique to Commscope.
Sure, and certainly a plethora of very important technologies. Jody, let's roll over to specific programs. We always like to highlight one program and tell us how this program has really had a big impact in improving the emergency communications.
So as far as IPAWS goes, Luke, I would have to say the wireless emergency alert system and also our enhancements to that. With those enhancements, the enhanced geo-targeting is very important to folks so that they can restrict the alert dissemination and avoid that overflow or that overbleed into other areas where maybe that alert or information is not applicable. I can say during this pandemic, we saw a big uptick in wireless alerting, specifically for the stay-at-home orders and for also just public safety information about where folks could go get tested or where they could get more information. There were more than 300 wireless alerts sent by 94 different agencies, and it continues to grow. That also, I'd like to add that we are seeing an uptick with working with the other divisions within FEMA, like the National Exercise Division, to exercise wireless alerts during exercises, during training initiatives, which we support and encourage.
That's fantastic and super important. I'm glad to hear about that. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on the Federal News Network.